Well, guess what, guys? We're bringing back Friday the 13th reviews, and we'll be talking Friday the 13th Part 3 today. But is it a flawed horror classic? So join me now, get some popcorn, get a drink, and let's talk Friday the 13th Part 3.
Copy, you're calling Raven.
Payback time.
Come with me if you want to live.
You just don't turn it off!
Friday the 13th Part 3 was released in 1982, directed by Steve Miner, and starring Dana Kimmell, Tracie Savage, and Richard Brooker as Jason Voorhees. Jason Voorhees stalks a group of friends who had just arrived at Higgins Havens to spend a weekend at a cabin near Crystal Lake. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Backtrack Cinema. My name is Jason, and thank you for joining me today on my review of Friday the 13th Part 3. So guys, I decided to bring the Friday the 13th review series back. When I first started the channel, we did 1 and 2. I've done a lot of Friday the 13th content, but we're going to continue the reviews here. Hopefully on Fridays I can release one until we get them all done for the big Friday the 13th on June 13th, Jason's birthday, so it's a special one. But it's not likely I'm going to get done by then, but I am certainly going to try here. So this is going to be a lot of fun to talk Friday the 13th. I got my special Blu-ray, got the old NECA mask, old Richard Brooker style, and we got some Richard Brooker Friday the 13th 3D. You can see him in there. This is gorgeous, actually. Like, look, gorgeous version of Jason that we're going to talk about. There's always time for some show and tell, guys. Always time. So Friday the 13th Part 3 to me is a funny relationship because it's kind of like Part 7, The New Blood. There's times where I get bored as hell watching it, and other times I have fun with it. I'm like that with both these movies. They're similar in that context for me. I'm a huge Friday the 13th fan. It's my favorite franchise. I like it because it's fun. It's this slasher goodness, and this came out in that middle of the golden age, 1982. It's certainly a movie you can have fun with. I think there's some parts of it it's just like a slog to get through. But is it a flawed horror classic? Like, it is a horror classic, and we're going to talk about reasons why it is a horror classic, because there's some iconic stuff in this movie, especially if you're a Friday the 13th fan. But it has its flaws too, like they all do. They're not great movies, man, but they're fun movies. And that's why I like the franchise. I go through it like once or twice a year, most of the movies anyway. But there's a whole history that we just haven't explored yet that we really need to. You know, and hopefully this Crystal Lake series starts going now, since they've cast Linda Cardellini, and we could start exploring all those ideas and everything. As far as Friday the 13th Part 3 is concerned, this is part of the Friday the 13th classic movies. 1 to 4 are the Friday the 13th original classic movies. And, you know, with Part 1, it was about Pamela. Part 2, Sackhead Jason. And in this one, he comes back and he gets the iconic mask. Now, let's start with what's really great about this movie, and it is Richard Brooker. I absolutely love Richard Brooker as Jason in this movie. As far as like the order I watched these in when I was younger, I saw 6 first, then 4, then 1, then 2, then 3. So 3 wasn't the first one I saw, but whenever I think of Jason in the hockey mask, I really think of the imagery of Richard Brooker and how he played him. They really transitioned Jason from Sackhead Jason to Richard Brooker's Jason, who is a hell of a lot bigger. He got that big hunchback. He's tall. He's menacing. The way Steve Miner shoots him in this, like Michael Myers, like he's lurking in the shadows a lot, which I really thought was really cool. I really like the way it opens up when he kills those 2 people at the store. He's lurking in the background and stuff like that. And one thing that my buddy Nick Cooling from the Movie Ranker, when he had his old channel, talked about when he reviewed this movie, is Jason gets his clothes from there on the clothesline, and he changes the coveralls. Which I saw this movie so many times, never even noticed that before. So you see him sitting there. He's right in front, right behind the shirt, right? The green shirt. And then it's gone when the girl looks again. But I really like how he's hiding out. He's lurking around. Now, I think he lurks. I think what kind of slows the movie down a lot, how he's just sitting in the barn watching and stuff like that. Even though there's some good stuff in there. What we know as Jason, from anybody who played Jason after Richard Brooker, is going off that. They're not really going off Sackhead. No disrespect to Sackhead Jason. I like Sackhead Jason and stuff like that, but they're going off Richard Brooker's performance. Like, Ted White comes along It makes it more vicious. CJ Graham is basically an undead version of, but they're all going that tall, big, menacing Jason, right? There's moments in here when he's big and lumbering and he's running in this. He gets a lot of pain inflicted on him and stuff like that, but he's strong. You know what I mean? He's someone like you do not want an axe coming down your head with this guy. This is a menacing character. So Richard Brooker really should get a lot of credit for really creating that template of Jason Voorhees as we see him in our mind when we think of Jason. Like that shot of where Chuck, the character Chuck, is checking out the power and everything, and he turns the light on, and Richard Brooker's standing behind him, and the lighting and everything like that. That's a beautiful shot. Man, the man's massive. You know what I mean? And just there's other shots too, when he kills the girl with the poker and he's carrying her and stuff like that. I don't know why. This feels so iconic to me. And when he gets the axe in the head at the end, this iconic stuff in this movie. And I do like Dana Kimmell as Chris here. I like how they give her a backstory. Although Jason attacking her in the woods, it almost comes off like he's trying to rape her. Not a big fan of that at all. I just do not like that part of it at all. But I like how they give her this backstory where she's really on edge of coming back to Crest Lake because of this, what happened to her, and she blacked out, and she's got a lot of anxiety and fear coming back, and she's trying to reconnect with her boyfriend Rick and stuff like that. And I do like how they add some, like, a little bit of character building when they're sitting there talking about how to get our relationship moving forward, and she tells him what happened to her in the woods. So I do like all that. I find it's one of the weakest cast of characters we get in Friday the 13th Part 3. Not necessarily because they're not entertaining, because there's entertainment in a lot of them, like Chuck and Chili, the potheads. I think they're really hilarious. Where he's scared, he's like this scared cat all the time, and she's this really alpha style woman. You know what I mean, like that. And I do like Tracie Savage as Chris's girlfriend there, and some of the other one. I'm not a big fan of Shelley, but they just don't have them doing much. You know what I mean? It's not that, and I don't go for these movies for the characters, but you got to have something to get us to that third act, because sometimes it's a slog to get us to the third act. And thank God for the bikers, because I think when the bikers show up at the barn, I think, okay, we're starting to get entertained here a bit. We get some good kills in there and we're entertained, especially Ali. I love this character. He may be my favorite character in the movie here. I actually love Ali, especially at the end when he does the Ali shuffle there. He's not dead and he freaking attacks Jason again. He just doesn't give up, that guy. I love that bastard. Awesome. Awesome little character for this movie. And of course, this was 3D, experimenting with the 3D, which does not hold up at all, really. But they worked really hard on these shots to get them perfect, and you gotta appreciate the work they all put into it. And when we get to the third act, once the third act hits, once Rick and Chris come back, I think this movie is great, man. I think it's got one of the best third acts for sure, especially with all the wind going on and everything like that. And once he takes Rick out, pops Rick's eye out and stuff like that, and then Chris is on her own, it just goes into high gear. She inflicts so much pain on Jason, stabbing him in the knee. She axes him in the head. She hangs him. She hits him with a shovel, the wood pile, all this stuff that's going on. She does her best, and I think you got to give her a little bit more credit, because she inflicts a lot of pain on Jason in this. Like he had a hard time, good old Jason, trying to take her out. And then she cracks up at the end, man. She just goes crazy at the end. Speaking of Rick, too, I do like Rick as a character. And I think they just took him out too early. Like, he was a pretty big guy himself, a strong guy. And I think it would have been cool just to see him fight Jason a little bit more. You still could have done the eye-popping scene in the middle of the fight or something like that. Like, that's the way Rick goes out. They could have utilized him in the action department more, like getting him to fight Jason, instead of just getting taken out so easily. And the kills are pretty good. I do like most of the kills, and Andy's kill is clearly the best. This character who's walking all his hands, they set up through this movie. And when he gets it, man, I mean, he's walking along, sticks his head up, and there's Jason. He's looking up at Jason. That is a situation you do not want to be in. You're gonna have a fucking bad day. Great kill, one of the best kills in Friday the 13th. You get pitchforks, machetes, eye popping, all good old Richard Brooker taking care of business with these kids. And I think that's where it is a horror classic, because what Richard Brooker brought to Jason, and he dons the iconic mask, and Andy's kill. Say what you want about this movie, it is absolutely iconic and one of the best kills in slasher movies. So it gets that horror classic for that reason, right? And when he dons the mask, when Richard Brooker first comes out, we won't forget that. There's the mask, right? It's on him, iconic. You know what I mean? Forever, this will be known as Friday the 13th, the symbol of it all, right? And when he just comes out walking on that dock, he's got that mask on. It looks great. It's like, okay, now you've branded Friday the 13th. Because as we know, the Sackhead was kind of like this ripoff of The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Another guy wore a bag on his head. And so when they created the hockey mask, it was this like, okay, now you branded your franchise. And this is probably why it even got more sequels and more sequels. Like, we can't underestimate The Mask, man, how important it is, how iconic it is. And, you know, the way Richard Brooker just wore it and everything. And I've always liked when they don't show Jason. I like the darkness of the eyes, right? When you never see the eyes. It's just this mysterious character behind them and everything. So we can't forget about that, man. Now, things I don't like too much, I find it can be very, very boring spending time with these characters. They're not doing a whole lot. So getting from basically after the people are killed in the store, getting to that third act, you know, it dips. It goes ups and downs where you're kind of cashing out, and then you're just okay. Is this thing gonna pick up? You know what I mean? And thankfully it does. I mean, it's definitely heavy on the back end. You could say the same thing about the original Friday the 13th, but I think there was enough kills spread throughout that movie, and I've never really been bothered by the pacing of Friday the 13th or Friday the 13th Part 2. This is where I feel it. Maybe because it's the third movie now, the formula is locked down, we know what to expect and stuff like that. They put in this ending because we got to have some kind of a jump scare or some ending in Friday the 13th of Pamela Voorhees taking Chris out in the canoe at the end of this movie, rehashing Friday the 13th Part 1, but it makes no fucking sense. Even in the dream sequence, I don't see how this thing makes sense, because she's not even mentioned, Pamela, in this movie at all. These characters don't know who she is. The characters don't even really know who Jason is. It's just Chris knows he's some guy who attacked me. And I think originally the dream sequence was with Jason has the mask off. He cuts her head off. Very interesting. I got the Camp Crystal Lake book, actually, so I've read about all this stuff. And it's an interesting read. I recommend you all get that book too. The ending makes no sense to me. I think it's quite terrible, actually. And obviously we got that iconic score still running throughout this thing. The kick ma 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 and all the Friday the 13th soundscapes that we're also used to hearing. And it adds this little disco music at the beginning, at the intro of this movie that's quite good. You know, that disco little song that everybody seems to love. I mean, I like it. I don't hate it. I don't love it necessarily. It's okay. You know what I mean? So I will say the movie's iconic, yet it's flawed. It has a huge, sometimes it can be a huge slog to get through with me, but there is entertainment value in it. But a lot of people like Friday the 13th Part 3, and don't get me wrong, I actually do like this movie. My most recent watch of this, I actually had a real fun time with this movie. Other times I don't. It's weird. It's got this weird effect on me, this movie. So the next time you guys go to put on a slasher movie on a Friday night, put on some Friday the 13th Part 3. Have some fun with Jason donning the iconic mask. I'm going to give Friday the 13th Part 3 a C+. But what about you guys? Let me know in the comments what you think of Friday the 13th Part 3. Do you like it? Don't you like it? Let's have a great discussion on this classic slasher movie. My name is Jason. You've been watching Backtrack Cinema. There's your next video to watch. Go down the rabbit hole and all that. I'll see you next time, and I'll see you in the movies. Cheers.